Good morning. It is Tuesday, August the 17th. I'm Shane Seeley and this is the CBC Morning Report. Topping our news this morning, the acting Prime Minister Cynthia Bradshaw says members of the social partnership have been getting a sense of what Barbadians have so far been hinting as to how they feel about the issues of testing and vaccines relating to COVID-19. Ms. Bradshaw was speaking during the third town hall meeting at the Dighton Griffith Secondary School last evening. Here's what she had to say.
We are happy, certainly, that I think most Barbadians understand that there is no plan to impose anything against anyone's will on the people of Barbados. And as Minister Abrams indicated on the last occasion, there's no intention to hold anyone down and place the injection in their arms. But what we have a responsibility to do is to educate and certainly to share with you a lot of the different views that are out there, and certainly our position from the social partnership, all of the varying views. And I'm happy that Barbadians are hopefully coming to that understanding that that has never been the intention, but certainly, you know, there are some who may have different agendas who might put forward those positions, and we welcome all positions, but we have a responsibility certainly to put the information out there into the public domain so people have the opportunity to be able to freely choose what they wish to do.
And as the social partnership continues to engage the general public on the topic of COVID-19 vaccines, a major talking point has been the significantly higher risk unvaccinated people face compared to those who are vaccinated. That was one of the points reinforced last evening during the town hall meeting. At the start of the session, Clinical Medical Officer in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Dale Babb, presented new figures on COVID-19 patients in isolation, which show that the majority of them are unvaccinated.
Data from our isolation facility at Harrison's Point has shown that the proportion of those admitted to Harrison's Point with COVID-19 who are unvaccinated is higher in comparison to those admitted who have been previously vaccinated. 84% of persons admitted this year have not been vaccinated. The percentage of those fully vaccinated who've had a breakthrough infection is low, only 7%.
Also addressed the issue of potentially developing blood clots as a result of using COVID-19 vaccine. She says, as with any medical product, the risks outweigh, and the risk and the benefits must be weighed in such situations.
COVID-19 disease is associated with an increased risk of developing blood clots. It's been shown that COVID-19 vaccines can also cause blood clots. However, the risk of developing a clot as a result of having received the vaccine is significantly lower than the risk of developing clots subsequent to COVID, should you acquire it. The risk is 10 times lower as a result of the vaccine versus the likelihood of developing clots once one has COVID-19. It is about weighing the benefit versus the possible risk.
We'll take a break here, but we'll come back and look at the COVID-19 numbers still in the double digits here in Barbados right here on the Morning Report. 12 new COVID-19 cases of 5 males and 7 females were identified by the Best Dos Santos Public Health Laboratory, and this was from the 1,091 tests conducted on Sunday. The number of people in isolation now stands at 103. A total of 240,306 tests have been carried out by the Public Health Lab. To date, 4,560 confirmed cases of COVID-19 have been recorded. 48 people have died from the virus. First doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered under the National Vaccination Program amount to 101,099. Additionally, 85,672 people, or 31.6% of the population, have received second doses and are fully vaccinated. Over 2,000 children in Chile have lost one or both parents to the coronavirus pandemic. Take a look at this report.
This modest pink home in Valparaiso was once a happy one. That was before the entire Fábrica Figueroa family caught COVID-19 last year. First, the grandparents were put into intensive care. Then the ambulance came for 40-year-old Karen Figueroa, a paramedic, mother of 3, and the main caretaker.
That's when she told me she was going to die. She knew it because she worked in the hospital.
As in many Chilean households, there's no father in this story. Helen was 20. For 23 days, she cared for her 5-year-old brother and 15-year-old sister.
Then one night, they called to say that my mother wasn't doing well. And at 5:45, she fainted, and she died.
They were left on their own. All 3 children have been suffering from depression and severe anxiety. The family's income has disappeared. But worst of all, says Helen, is the absence of professional emotional support to deal with the trauma.
We are isolated. There are thousands of us out there, but no one knows for sure how many, because for the government, we're invisible.
It wasn't until a few weeks ago that an investigation revealed that there are at least 2,029 youngsters who've lost one or both parents, most of them from low-income families. Across Latin America, 30,000 or more have been orphaned, but have fallen under the radar. Like few countries, Chile is moving full speed ahead to deliver a 3rd dose of the COVID vaccine, starting with these senior citizens. The focus now is to boost people's immunity and the economy. Yet the fate of thousands of young people who've lost one or both parents does not seem to be the government's priority right now. Congress is just beginning to discuss an orphan's pension, but experts say an all-inclusive program on a case-by-case basis is necessary. That includes psychological care for the children and relatives who can hopefully care for them, and guarantees that children won't be separated.
How is it possible that 1.5 years into the pandemic, we hadn't seen this crude reality before? Thousands of children have lost their loved ones, not just in Chile, but in the entire world.
The Fábrica children are lucky to at least have their elderly grandparents, who are still recovering from the virus. But until now, no government agency has knocked on their door to offer help.
A really tough situation in Chile there. Let's go over to Pearson now to find out what's happening on the Tuesday edition of Mornin Barbados. Pearson, over to you.
Thank you, Sheen. Well, you would have just seen in that story how the pandemic is creating a crisis in families. It's also creating a crisis in business. And so this morning we'll be meeting with a man who's written this book, Tighten Your Shoelaces. He'll talk to us a little bit about some of those crisis-specific techniques and tools that we can actually use in business to survive the pandemic. And so it's a very good read. We'll be meeting with Ron Johnson, the author of that book, who shares from his experience in this. We'll also this morning be meeting another one of those nationally recognized distinguished teachers, the recipient of that award. She hails from the Queen's College, and so we'll be celebrating that success with her in just a little while. And our conversation on CARICOM today looks squarely at the situation in Haiti, in Cuba, and a whole lot more. So that's just a taste of what's to come when you join me here in about 20 minutes on Morning Barbados. It's back to you, Shane.
Really interesting stuff there, Pearson. We'll take a break here, and when we come back, you'll hear about the fresh demand for land here in Barbados. There's now a significant demand for land to establish solar farms here in Barbados. This revelation from the Agriculture and Food Security Minister, Indar Weir, who says, however, consideration has to be given to open field farming. He was responding to questions and concerns about too much idle land here in Barbados.
The truth is that we have to maintain a certain amount of acreage for open field agriculture. And I've said over and over, I'm on record saying that we have to move to new techniques in agriculture. And there are some applications that I'm seeing that I'm extremely happy with for greenhouses and hydroponic farms. And so therefore, a lot of the land that perhaps may appear to be idle at this point in time will be coming into agriculture using greenhouses and hydroponic farms.
The minister says among the challenges his ministry is facing is that some land may not be good for agriculture and some owners are not interested in cultivating their land.
I have a large number of people who have applied for land at the BADMC through the feed program. We have another set, just over 300 are being trained as I speak. And so we have to look for land. And that is the reason why we had the Broker Ponder agreement in place, so that we can also move some of our farmers to Suriname in order that we can provide them with an opportunity, because Barbados will not have enough land to help all of our farmers.
In other news this morning, while the Caribbean Broadcasting Union is in a healthy financial position, it remains concerned about the finances of its subsidiary entity, the Caribbean Media Corporation. Word of this from the outgoing president, Gary Allen, whose remarks came at the 52nd Annual General Assembly opening ceremony and 2021 Hall of Fame induction of the CBU.
We remain concerned about the poor financial state of our subsidiary company, the Caribbean Media Corporation, the CMC, and the further impact of COVID-19 pressures on that organization has placed its business in peril. We are, however, pleased to report to you that there is good health in our union's business. During our current year, we were able to grant all members a 15% reduction in subscriptions, even as we have increased services to members. We have also been able to give members a longer time period to make their subscription payments. In this climate and under these circumstances, we are pleased with the continuous improvement in the financial position that we have seen in the union.
Also addressing the ceremony was the acting CEO of the CBC, the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation, Sherwood McCaskey. He said that media partners have always exhibited strength and resolve despite the many challenges.
The history of the Caribbean Broadcasting Union's partner is one of resilience and rising to every occasion, accepting whatever challenge confronts them and responding appropriately, and of course, successfully.
The CBU's second day of the virtual assembly continues today. With Haiti feeling the effects now of a tropical depression, doctors and aid workers are rushing to get flights or transport to reach areas devastated by this weekend's major earthquake. Port-au-Prince Airport is bustling with medics and aid workers, with domestic and private chartered flights filled with humanitarian teams and supplies.
In Haiti, it appears death is never too far away. Saturday's devastating earthquake has pushed the demand for coffins. And if that weren't enough, Haitians are now preparing for another potential disaster. Tropical storm Grace is set to make landfall, bringing with it the risk of flash floods, landslides, and further complicating efforts to find survivors.
We are bracing for Tropical Storm Grace that is coming, so we have to have a contingency so we can address the people that are that out of fear stay out of their houses and sleep out on the streets.
The magnitude 7.2 earthquake has added to the list of crises Haitians had been dealing with. From gang violence that has affected every aspect of life for many, to last month's assassination of President Jovenel Moïse, and of course the COVID-19 pandemic. Here in Colombia, an all-out effort is underway as regional nations send desperately needed aid. The scale and damage becomes clear from above, but this is the scene on the ground. Stretcher beds and mattresses sprawled among the rubble under the shade of trees. The lack of medical resources is clear. With thousands in need of care, doctors are left to treat patients outside. Hospital wards are overwhelmed, with healthcare workers struggling to cope. Haiti's prime minister flew to the seafront town of Lekai in the nation's southwest, an area which had been worst affected by the quake.
When I arrived in the south of the country, we saw the destruction. Many houses are destroyed. Rescue teams are working to find victims and survivors in the rubble. One thing I noticed was the dignity of the people despite the situation. They are affected but resilient. They fight to survive.
On the streets of Lekai, locals line up to feed their families. But this is far from business as usual. Football fields sprawled with survivors forced to shelter with the few belongings they have left.
Since the earthquake, I didn't feel well. We're on the football field, our home is destroyed, we can't drink the water, and many people are staying here.
Many here are still traumatized by the 2010 earthquake that killed hundreds of thousands of people near the capital, Port-au-Prince. For many, the only safe place to sleep for now is on the streets. But the looming tropical storm brings with it more risks, leaving Haitians feeling hopeless, with no place to go, wondering when things will get better.
Let's go further afield now, where the Taliban has declared war in Afghanistan after its fighters swept into the capital, Kabul, and the President Ashraf Ghani fled the country. Victorious Taliban fighters patrolled the streets of Kabul yesterday as thousands of Afghans mobbed the city's airport, trying to flee the group's feared hardline brand of rule. Scores of Afghans ran alongside a U.S. military plane as it taxied on the runway, and several clung onto the sides of the jet as it took off. Senior U.S. military officials said the chaos left 7 dead, including several who fell from the flight.
This chaos and tragedy continues with these desperate scenes, people desperate to get out of Afghanistan. The Taliban has put up a cordon outside the terminal to try to stop more people getting in, to try to stop the situation getting worse. But we do know that people have been trying and often succeeding in scaling the perimeter wall to get inside. Meanwhile, the Taliban has been firing shots, warning shots, trying to keep people away. You occasionally hear gunfire coming from the direction of the airport. Meanwhile, in their part of the airport, the large U.S. contingent, they have also put up their cordon, trying to keep the crowds back as they continue this evacuation exercise, also firing shots. And we know from the Pentagon statement that in an incident earlier Monday, shots were fired that killed 2 armed men, according to the Pentagon. Well, we know from other sources that they were, in fact, Taliban. So while you have these 2 large armed contingents, the United States and the Taliban, both, of course, sworn enemies for the past 2 decades, and between them, this highly volatile, increasingly desperate crowd, it really is a very dangerous situation, and the longer it continues, the greater the danger of something far more serious occurring. The U.S. has said it is committed to clearing the runway to allow its evacuation exercise to continue. We know it is bolstering its military contingent. Colleagues of ours who have been along to the airport, getting a vantage point just before the light went, just before sundown, have reported still seeing large numbers of people across the runway. And this a tactic being used by the U.S. of using a couple of their Apache attack helicopters to hover low over the runway, a couple of meters, repeatedly driving at the crowds, trying to push them off, presumably because of an imminent arrival or departure of one of their transport aircraft. But with so many people on the runway, they have to suspend operations while they try to clear people, at least. So this really is turning into something of a nightmare of an operation for the U.S.
In response to that situation, the United Nations Security Council is calling for talks to create a new government in Afghanistan and for an end to the fighting and abuse. This after the UN chief, Antonio Guterres, warned of what he termed as chilling Taliban curbs on human rights and mounting violations against girls and women. The Taliban, however, says they plan to have an inclusive government. We have a report on who is who in this Taliban outfit.
In 2015, the Afghan government announced the Taliban's former leader, Mullah Omar, was dead. A senior Taliban commander confirmed the man who supported and gave shelter in Afghanistan to Osama bin Laden had died 2 years earlier in a secret location. Mullah Omar had been in hiding since soon after the 9/11 attacks. His son, Mullah Muhammad Yaqub, is believed to oversee the Taliban's military operations and has been repeatedly proposed as an overall leader of the armed group during numerous leadership tussles. Yaqub reportedly turned down the offer and proposed this man instead. Haibatullah Akhundzada is an Islamic scholar, often described as the movement's supreme leader. He took over the group's leadership when his predecessor, Akhtar Mansour, was killed in a US drone strike near the Afghan-Pakistan border in 2016. He has authority over the Taliban's political, religious and military affairs and is from one of the most powerful Pashtun clans. Another prominent Taliban leader is Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar.
This is a great victory for the whole Afghan nation, and especially the people of Kabul and our Mujahideens. The way we've come through was unexpected. There is nothing like this victory in the history of the world, so we should thank God. We should not be arrogant. Now we will serve our nation. We will give serenity to the nation. We will go as far as possible to improve people's lives.
He's played a leading role in negotiations in Doha that have tried to reach a political settlement and lasting peace in Afghanistan. Baradar is one of the co-founders of the Taliban and is head of its political office. He's believed to have been one of Mullah Omar's most trusted commanders. Baradar was captured in 2010 by security forces in the southern Pakistani city of Karachi. He was released in 2018. Another important figure in the Doha negotiations, and someone expected to play a major role in the Taliban's leadership, is Sheikh Mohammed Abbas Stanikzai. He's a former deputy minister in the Taliban's government before its removal during the US-led invasion in 2001. And this is Sirajuddin Haqqani. He leads the powerful Haqqani network, a group that has overseen the Taliban's financial and military assets across the border in Pakistan. The Haqqani network has been blamed for various attacks in Afghanistan, including this one on the Serena Hotel in Kabul in 2008. It was also blamed for at least one of the reported 6 assassination attempts on the former president of Afghanistan, Hamid Karzai.
Let's go over to sports now, and after Sunday's win, the West Indies are in second place of the new ICC Test Cricket Championship points table. Actually, the Windies were in first place, but yesterday's victory by India over England in their second test has put them ahead now. India have 14 points from a win and 1 draw, while the Windies have 12 points from that first test victory over Pakistan. England are third on 2 and Pakistan fourth, yet to gain a point. No other teams are on the list as they have not yet played a test series under this new series of matches. Rising star with jockey Rashid Hughes on board won the featured horse race over the weekend, the BTC Board of Directors Handicap. That race was one of only 4 that ran before the rain put an end to the day's proceedings. Due to the changing track conditions and the weather forecast, the stewards at the Garrison Savannah took the decision to abandon races 5, 6, and 7 of the Barbados Turf Club Racing Fraternity Race Day. It was for the safety of the horses, jockeys, and all others concerned. Before that decision was made, Rising Star managed to win the feature. Let's take a look.
The gates are open, a little slow into stride is the number 1 drawn Rising Star, and they are at the mile pole in the BTC Board of Directors handicap towards the front, and it is on the inside. You can see towards the outside. Terrain wants to lead on the inside is Trinity Aviator. So 2 T's up front and heads turn and come into the straight for the first time. Against the rail, it is Trinity Aviator. On the outside is Terrain. And then we find the Grey Celestial Storm content to wait back in 5th position. In 4th position, I beg your pardon, is Zagan, and on the outside of Zagan, now getting into it, is Rising Star. So they're on the line for the first time, and they attack the paddock bend. Trinity Aviator in front, from on the outside, Terrain who loses some ground. Traveling nicely on the inside is the Ash Grey Celestial Storm. On the outside in 4th position, Rising Star goes up to take closer order. The back marker continues to be Zagan. The quarter mile is not shown on the board properly. It's 25 flat. The half mile in 52 and 4. As they gallop down the back stretch. Towards the 4 furlong pole, they go Trinity Aviator. In front by a length and a half. In second position, continues to Terrain, who's going to press the issue. Celestial Storm sits on the outside, on the inside of Rising Star. And badly outpaced is Zagan, and he has absolutely no chance from here. You have to sprout wings. They've done the 6 furlongs in 1:16 and 3 over the top of the hill, and it continues to be Trinity Aviator handily held from on the outside. Rising Star comes to get into it. So too Terrain is running a tremendous race. The Grey Celestial Storm is in within striking position. Zagan is hopeless at this stage as they race back towards the corner. And on the dark clouds on a wet summer day in Barbados, heads turn for home, and there's only 1 star in the sky. That is Rising Star by a length and a half. Trinity Aviator is puttering on the outside. Terrain is spinning his wheels. Celestial Storm with a lot of work to do. This is over. The jockey decided he's had enough. Rising Star by as many as he please. Make it 10.
Let's now take a quick look at the weather. The temperature is around that 27 degrees Celsius mark. Right now it's actually 28.2 degrees Celsius. It's partly cloudy on the outside. Relative humidity stands at 72%. Today will be a windy day as the winds will top off at around 24 kilometers per hour coming out of the east. We'll get a high tide this afternoon just after midday. The low tide will be around 7 minutes to 5 this afternoon. Those seas are moderate in open water. Swells are around the 2-meter mark, but expect them to increase. It will be sunny with cloudy periods today in Barbados with occasional brief scattered light showers. And tonight we'll have a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few brief isolated light showers. This is a picture over the Lesser Antilles today and tonight. It will be fair to partly cloudy there with a few brief light isolated showers. And here's a quick look at selected cities with our international weather forecast. And that's it for this edition of the Morning Report. I'm Shane Seeley. Morning Barbados starts now.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Barbados for today, Tuesday, the 17th of August, 2021. To those of you watching us on our website, cbc.bb, on our social media spaces like YouTube and CBC Barbados and Morning Barbados on Facebook, good having you company. Welcome to another edition of today's Morning Barbados. In our pediatric care this morning, we'll be discussing the question about children and COVID-19. And so our consultant, Dr. Gillian Birchwood, will join us to delve into that. And in our real estate segment as well, what do you need to know if you're heading into the rental space? All of that and a whole lot more straight ahead. But let's get started this morning by celebrating one of our teachers. Her name is Lisa Eversley. She teaches with Queen's College. She's a recent recipient of the Distinguished Teachers Award. Good morning to you, Lisa.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, bright and early, but pretty good.
Congratulations, by the way, on your award. How does it
Thank you
feel
very
to know that
much.
you've been recognized by your peers?
It is overwhelming. There are so many good teachers, and sometimes we get a bad rep. But in my experience, I've been at it for 15 years. There are so many good teachers, and to have the opportunity to be appreciated has been amazing. It is an amazing feeling.
I could well imagine. You were nominated by students and parents. That alone means quite a lot. So when you ponder and pause on for just a moment on that, just how does it feel when you know that those people, the people who you serve, are the ones who selected you to be nominated in the first place?
Well, what a question. I have good contact with my parents. I have good contact with the parents for my students, and the congratulations has been ongoing, but outside of that, they are so encouraging and it is inspiring. So I feel as if, okay, I'm on a springboard and I have to just keep going. I have to keep living up to their expectations, living up to the expectations that I hold myself up to. So it's a very inspiring feeling.
Mm-hmm. You teach sixth form at Queen's College.
I teach first to fifth form at Queen's College. Yes, okay. I teach first to fifth form. I've taught first to fifth form previously at St. George Secondary, which I loved, and I love teaching my first to fifth. I didn't want to send them a message to say, Ma'am is going to be on, because I know they're not going to get up. I know they're not going to get up, but they are my joy. They are my pride and joy.
Tell me why.
Because the children are always willing to try. Sometimes we think that children don't want to learn. We sometimes just flippantly say they're lazy, or sometimes we project onto the children. And each child is such an individual, and there are children that I've had experiences where I, as a human being, I would think, I'm not so sure about this child. And I mean, I teach Spanish, and there are some people who say, You know, I not gonna get it. Ma'am, I not gonna understand. Ma'am, I could barely speak English good. Ma'am, how you expect me to come and speak Spanish? And they say, but you're starting from scratch. You're starting from scratch. It's brand new to you. And the children that make an effort, they say, all I want you to do is make an effort. It doesn't have to be perfect. I want you to come in. Vamos a hablar un poquito de español. And the children, ma'am. And, you know, they try with their phrases.
Yes.
And when I hear them speaking Spanish, when children WhatsApp me in Spanish, amazing. Amazing when they make the effort. This is without Google Translate, just in case, you know, my students get a peep at this. This is not encouraging you to use Google Translate, you know, use what I taught you, but to see them making the effort to use what they have learned and understanding that it's not a regular subject. It's something that you can take anywhere. Anybody can learn Spanish. We want to speak when we go to Puerto Rico. We want to speak when we go to Panama. We want that if we're in the line in the Miami airport and they started saying, muy bien por aquí, you can say, un momento por favor, más despacio, and you want to feel that sense of accomplishment. So when they realize that they can do that and they can take Spanish anywhere, then it warms my heart. It makes me feel fantastic.
How do you keep your...
I've been able to share that.
Thank you. That's one side of the equation. But then there's the other side of the equation where the child is somehow not able to consume what you're seeking to teach. How do you keep yourself focused on that child, that one out of the 100 sheep, so to speak?
The interesting thing about teaching something like Spanish is that it is all around us. And whereas no shade at science teachers, you know, no shade at anybody else, but Spanish is everywhere. So I don't know if you remember when we first started to have international TV channels, and you'd see the Spanish subtitles at the bottom. And then like in recent years, we're hearing a lot of music and there's a lot of fusion. There's a lot of Spanish in it. You just have to find what that child likes. It's not for the child to like just the Spanish that I am teaching them, but Spanish is everywhere. I have a particular student that he wants to be a pilot. And I said, well, you know, Copa Airlines, you can fly on Copa. Right. And he was like, there's an airline Copa? And he was like, yeah. And now he does all of his gaming in Spanish. So he comes and he asks me, you know, ¿Qué significa, man? What does this mean? And I said, I don't know. I don't game in Spanish. You have now found your niche. I don't know. So you have to find what is interesting to the child and explain to them this exists in Spanish. It doesn't matter what it is, it exists in Spanish.
But teaching in itself is a profession that can be so all-encompassing and so time-consuming. How are you balancing all that you want to do and be able to achieve as a person with this ability to teach other people to be their best selves?
That's a really good question, given how teaching has changed in the past year to 2 years. So COVID made me a little anxious, being at home, sitting in this chair for hours, and I realized like my breathing was different, everything was different. And I learned to swim a couple years ago, and I said, okay, you have to swim some more. And what I have been doing, and it's something that I want my children, when I say my children, all of my students to know, is that balance is really important. Is that there are times when you work hard, and there are times when you rest just as hard. You rest and you don't rest and think about the work. That's not it. You have to actively rest. And something I've been telling my friends as well is everything else in your life will be planned for you. Your work will be planned. Your time is planned for you. You have to plan your rest and relaxation. If you don't, no one plans your rest for you. No one does. You have to plan your rest. And that's what I do. Like now I have beach days. Even in the vacation, I have a small Spanish school, Spanish for Life. So I'm not on vacation. I have still doing work, still trying to run courses. Like I said, Person, do you speak Spanish? Person, you need a couple of words.
No, I'm better at French than I am at Spanish, I must tell you. You know, when you were talking about the STV channels that first came in, you know, they were doing the Spanish language, all I can recall is Ya regresa.
That's all I need. That is the basis that we need for Spanish. Ya regresa. We'll be right back. Spanish is for everybody. So even though I'm on vacation, I say I'm on vacation from school, I'm not on vacation from teaching. Teaching is what I love. But even so, I have 2 or 3 beach days. And a beach day does not mean take an article to read on how to increase the target language in the class. It means take a book, take some music, relax, invite 2 friends, go for a swim. So balance has become even more important in the past 2 years. I'm encouraging everybody, find your balance, find your relaxation, plan it.
You're beginning to sound like my makeup artist this morning who said to me, Pearson, you have to take a vacation. You have to find some time for yourself.
This is like confirmation of what you've heard. So it's not, that was not my makeup artist, so I don't know what you heard, but just, just want to draw to your attention. Maybe you need to plan. You say everything else is scheduled for you. Schedule that rest. When you schedule the rest, you could listen to some Spanish music. I find that really helps. And watch some Netflix shows with the Spanish subtitles on. And the next time I see you, you say, "Hola, Lisa, ¿qué tal?" Bueno.
Lisa, you make teaching sound so fun. You made me feel like getting up from here and walking into Earlston Teachers Training College to get ready for the next cohort of teachers to come through.
As for Miss Grace Ann Critchlow, that's my mentor, and I want to say she kind of made me so excited after I was at 9 or 10 years. I'm at 15 and I'm still excited. I'm still excited.
That is super.
I want you to be excited about Spanish though.
Yeah, I will there.
I will.
I will.
Okay, good.
So, Lisa, I really want to join in commending you on receiving this award, really, because clearly, by your example this morning, you are one who's passionate about teaching. No doubt the parents and the students were happy to nominate you, and your peers saw everything good in you to give you this award. So congratulations, and all the best for the future. You're welcome.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. All right, have a great day. Adios.
Adios. Lisa Eversley, one of our distinguished teachers this morning, joining us right here on Morning Barbados. We're going to take a break. We're here, Ya Regresa, and we're back with even more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
60 minutes to go to 7 o'clock. It's time for Conversations on CARICOM, and so we're happy once again to join with Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, David Comichon. Good morning to you, sir.
Buenos dias,
Listen, I already explained it's very limited. Estoy bien, if that answers your question. You got me with that one. So much has happened in the couple of weeks that we've been away. We've had a change in government in St. Lucia. Haiti is once again thrust into the spotlight with just recent on the weekend, the earthquake 7.2 magnitude and crushing lives and situations there. Where do we start this morning to begin to unravel all of this in CARICOM?
Well, let's start with Haiti because Haiti is front and center once again. When we thought that the major issue in Haiti was the assassination of the president, and that it all centered around the political crisis, now we have this humanitarian crisis. But I think the takeaway from this is that CARICOM is on the job in the form of CDEMA, the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency. So it's important for all of us to know that Haiti, as a member of CARICOM, is also a member of CDEMA. And the whole idea of CDEMA is that of collective security. So once there's a natural disaster in any CARICOM member state, it becomes the business of all 15 member states. So CDEMA has activated its regional response mechanism, its regional coordination plan. It has pulled together the Caribbean development partners these are international agencies that give support to the CARICOM region whenever there is a disaster. The way the CDEMA system works is that there are countries that are focal points for different regions of the Caribbean. So the focal point for the northwestern Caribbean is Jamaica. So the CDEMA center here in Barbados, CDEMA is headquartered in Barbados, is working in partnership with the disaster relief experts and departments in Jamaica. And CDEMA has CDEMA has been making information available to all of our member states, and it has asked member states to make technical support available to CDEMA to service the various CDEMA surge teams that are likely to have to go into Haiti to help. It is also activated, well, the CDEMA Disaster Emergency Fund is always there, and it has sent out information to member states, reminding them that at a time like this, we need to make the financial donations. In fact, every member state is really expected to make a minimum contribution of US $100,000 to finance all of the assistance efforts that CDEMA will be called upon to make, because there's going to be a lot. I mean, to help 1,400 people dead, thousands of houses and infrastructure damage, it is going to call for some effort to help Haiti to get through this. And I should mention that while CDEMA looks to the governments of member states to finance the emergency fund, I think we are also at the stage where entities, civil society bodies, business, service clubs can also make donations. The CDEMA Emergency Fund is actually here. I keep saying here in Barbados, although I'm in Toronto as we speak. But in Barbados at the CIBC First Caribbean Bank at Rendezvous in Christchurch. And I know that even though the direct appeal is towards the government, I know that CDEMA, in fact, I've been told, would welcome donations from non-governmental organizations just to help finance. You remember, CDEMA was dealing with Soufriere, Hurricane Elsa, so CDEMA is constantly being called upon, and with its limited resources to respond to one disaster after another.
I keep thinking of the children and the psychological impact all of this is having on those Haitian children. And I know in the previous iteration, when the last major earthquake we would have had in Haiti, we would have opened doors in the Caribbean to assist in helping some of those children rehabilitate themselves as well. Do you know yet whether or not that is a part of the discussion at the level of CARICOM?
No, I think it's too early. I think, well, what had happened is that CDEMA had been fully activated, the Jamaican authorities fully activated. Then Tropical Storm Grace was threatening, and in fact, well, thankfully, it has gone from a tropical storm to a tropical depression. And I think it would have hit Haiti last night. So the thinking is that they're going to need to factor in whatever additional damage is going to be, these torrential rains are going to do. So the authorities in Haiti's, I think they call it Civil Protection Department, they are on the ground. They're making the assessments. So soon from now, Pearson, we will hear those detailed assessments. I mean, Haiti has already sent out a needs list. Let it be clear. I mean, they've already sent out a needs list, but they're saying that the items can actually be purchased in Haiti. So they're not asking people to send items. Mm-hmm. So the priority now is money, because they can purchase the needs in Haiti. But whether we are going to need some of the things that you have just put on the table to take in students from Haiti and so forth, I guess we will hear more about that in the days to come. So that's I guess all of that now is still being assessed. Right. But Haiti, going forward, CARICOM talks about a resilience agenda that and I think for the next 10 years or so, this is going to be the watchword in CARICOM, building resilience. And there's no member state that needs that resilience agenda more than Haiti. Mm-hmm. Building resilience means that we now have to rethink our nations within the context of climate change, within the context of natural disasters, increasingly violent hurricanes, and so forth. And Haiti really, Haiti, there needs to be an international development plan, a Marshall-type plan, focused specifically on Haiti, because Haiti's developmental deficit is so great. And it is my vision, really, that we can have such a plan, and that such a plan should involve all of the institutions and associate institutions of CARICOM. We have institutions that cover everything, Pearson, from agricultural development, tourism, to alternative energy, to education, University of the West Indies. I mean, you name it. Mm-hmm. We have the institutions. What we don't have are the financial resources. But if the international community can be made to understand that so much injustice has been done to Haiti over a period of more than 200 years, so much is owed to Haiti, and that the international community can finance a development plan for Haiti that involves all the CARICOM institutions that really should be on the ground in Haiti, have a presence in Haiti, contributing maximally to the development of Haiti. Because Haiti's salvation is going to come within the Caribbean context, as part of an integrated Caribbean, with maximum assistance from its Caribbean brothers and sisters. Haiti must take its rightful place within our Caribbean community. So I think beyond a disaster like this, I think that is what we have to press for. Long-term, serious and long-term development for Haiti, so that you have buildings, so that you build buildings that can withstand earthquakes. Like in Japan, yes. They get earthquakes all the time, but the buildings are built a quality that can withstand earthquakes and hurricanes, etc. That's where we need to go.
And one of its neighbors, Cuba, just so the rest of it, is in itself known for having that level of resilience over time through its history as well. And one can learn from its example. But we're also faced with a pandemic that says we need access to vaccines. And thankfully, the Fisa vaccine a donation has come in from the United States. And while there is some degree of hesitancy, nonetheless, the access to vaccine has been increased now owing to this influx of really additional vaccines.
Yeah, so we Barbadians now, we have access to AstraZeneca, the Sinopharm, and now the Pfizer. And hopefully not too long from now, we'll have access to the Cuban Abdala vaccine. So this is good. This is good. It gives Barbadians choices. But as I continue to tell a number of my colleagues, I have colleagues who tell me, oh, we are waiting for the Cuban vaccine, the Abdala vaccine. And I tell them, look, there are 115 Cuban doctors and nurses in Barbados, and they are not waiting for the Cuban vaccine. They have taken the AstraZeneca. So, you know, take an example from them, because I must say, Pearson, I'm getting very, very concerned about the level of what this pandemic is going to do to our countries, the deaths that we're going to have. When I see what Jamaica, for example, is going through.
Yes.
I mean, you know, rising numbers of positive cases, rising numbers of deaths, that I really want to send out a message to our people. We're in a very, a very serious fight. I don't think there's a single doctor in Barbados who has not said to the Barbadian people, look, these vaccines are safe. These vaccines will help us to save our country from illness and death. Take these vaccines. And I want to appeal to our people, you know, listen to the health professionals that we know. We know Dr. George, you know, we know Dr. Corey Ford, we know Dr. Williams, the head of our BAMP, and so forth. Don't go and listen to some anonymous person, some talking head on some social media video. We know Dr. Carissa Etienne, the Dominican, who's head of PAHO, and we know Dr. Joyce St. John, who's the head of CARFA. So these are all of these people have sent one message to us, and let's, you know, and so these are the authorities, these are the medical and health authorities that belong to us, that we can trust, and that we should heed what they're telling us, because we have lost too many already. I mean, in Jamaica, somebody like Toots Hibbert, Toots and the Maytals, we have lost people of that caliber to this COVID-19, and we don't want to lose anymore. So let's do the right thing, people.
We've lost time as well as a consequence of the pandemic, and so we must be able to find a way to get back on track as quickly as possible towards people development and economic development as well. There's a lot more I wish I had the time to ask you about, because the African Union and our relationship with what's happening in Africa and our brothers and sisters there is also a topic that we need to have some discussion on, perhaps next time.
Yes, next week. Yeah, there's some very positive things happening there. And we also need to talk about Cuba as well, because CARICOM is doing quite a bit in terms of solidarity with Cuba, you know, and some exciting developments in Cuba and in relation to Africa. Next week, should God spare life.
Thank you, Ambassador Commission, for joining us again from Toronto for our conversations on CARICOM. Enjoy your stay, sir.
Muchas gracias, compañero.
You're going with that again? You're welcome indeed. Morning Barbados continues right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Well, it's the top of the hour. Time for us to take another look at the news. For that, here's Shane Seeley.
Thank you, Pearson. It appears that government will not be pushing mandatory vaccinations for COVID-19 after all, but it will instead focus primarily on educating Barbadians about the benefits of getting vaccinated. The acting Prime Minister, Santia Bradshaw, says the members of the social partnership have been getting a sense of what Barbadians have been hinting so far as to how they feel about the issues relating to testing and vaccines. She gave her take on the situation during the third town hall meeting that was held at the Dighton Griffith Secondary School.
We are happy, certainly, that I think most Barbadians understand that there is no plan to impose anything against anyone's will on the people of Barbados. And as Minister Abrams indicated on the last occasion, there's no intention to hold anyone down and place the injection in their arms. But what we have a responsibility to do is to educate and certainly to share with you a lot of the different views that are out there, and certainly our position from the social partnership, all of the varying views. And I'm happy that Barbadians are hopefully coming to that understanding that that has never been the intention, but certainly, you know, there are some who may have different agendas who might put forward those positions, and we welcome all positions, but we have a responsibility certainly to put the information out there into the public domain so people have the opportunity to be able to freely choose what they wish to do.
Meanwhile, new data from the Harrison Point isolation facility is showing that the overwhelming majority of patients there are unvaccinated. This was also a major talking point at yesterday's town hall meeting. During the session, the clinical medical officer in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Dale Babb, revealed those statistics.
Data from our isolation facility at Harrison's Point has shown that the proportion of those admitted to Harrison's Point with COVID-19 who are unvaccinated is higher in comparison to those admitted who have been previously vaccinated. 84% of persons admitted this year have not been vaccinated. The percentage of those fully vaccinated who've had a breakthrough infection is low, only 7%.
The daily number of COVID-19 cases has declined, dropped, and remains in the double digits for now. This is 12 new cases. 5 males and 7 females were identified by the Best Dos Santos Public Health Laboratory. They conducted 1,091 tests on Sunday. The number of people in isolation stands at 103, and a total of 240,306 tests have been carried out by the Public Health Lab. To date, 4,560 confirmed cases of COVID-19 have been recorded. 48 people have died from the virus. First doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered under the National Vaccination Program have reached 101,099. Additionally, 85,672 people, or 31.6% of the population, have received second doses and are fully vaccinated. Tropical Storm Grace has dumped heavy rainfall on Haiti and is now on track to brush Jamaica, with residents there bracing for storm force winds and possible flooding. Meanwhile, doctors and aid workers back in Haiti were rushing to get flights or transport to reach areas devastated by this weekend's major earthquake. Port-au-Prince Airport is bustling with medics and aid workers, with domestic and private charter flights filled with humanitarian teams and supplies.
Tropical Storm Grace is set to make landfall, bringing with it the risk of flash floods, landslides, and further complicating efforts to find survivors.
We are bracing for Tropical Storm Grace that is coming, so we have to have a contingency so we can address the people that are that out of fear stay out of their houses and sleep out on the streets.
The magnitude 7.2 earthquake has added to the list of crises Haitians had been dealing with. From gang violence that has affected every aspect of life for many, to last month's assassination of President Jovenel Moïse, and of course the COVID-19 pandemic.
And that's our 7 a.m. headline news. I'm Shane Seeley. Back to you, Pearson.
We are 5 minutes after 7 o'clock. We will take a break right here. When we are back, I have a question for you in today's Crumbs Question of the Day.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It is 7 minutes after 7 o'clock. It is also time for you to call me on 228-5562 or 228-5563 to answer today's Crumbs Question of the Day. So 228-5562 or 228-5563. Those are the numbers to call. It's going to be a simple question. So here comes today's Crumbs Question of the Day. Today's question is going to be looking into Crispy's fried chicken, and of course the question will be something you know already. I want you to name for me the 4 types of smoothies sold at Crispy Fried Chicken. Name the 4 types of smoothies sold at Crispy Fried Chicken. What are those 4 types of smoothies sold at Crispy Fried Chicken? Do you know? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Those 4 types of smoothies sold at Crispy Fried Chicken. You've got to know this by now. 228-5562 or 228-5563 are the only numbers to call for a chance to win this morning in our Crumbs Question of the Day. A question on Crispy Fried Chicken. Your question is, name the 4 types of smoothies sold at Crispy Fried Chicken. Call me now. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Waiting on your call. 228-5562 or 63. Name the 4 types of smoothies sold at Crispy Fried Chicken. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, sir. Where are you watching us from?
From St. George.
St. George. And what is your answer for me this morning?
It's strawberry.
That's it?
Yeah, it's strawberry.
I'm listening to you.
Strawberry, banana.
Don't listen to yourself. Listen to me and talk to me into your phone. Go ahead.
All right. It's strawberry, banana.
All right. You're not listening to me at all. Let's move on. I need you folks, when you call, not to listen to your television. Do not listen to your TV. Listen to your telephone. Like you're having a conversation with somebody. Listen to the telephone. So 228-5562 or 228-5563. Just focus on the voice coming via the telephone. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Hi. What parish are you watching us from?
Christchurch.
Okay. What's your answer?
Banana, strawberry, mango, and ice cream.
And ice cream? And what makes you so certain that those are the 4 types?
Because I heard it already. So I wrote it down.
That's what makes you certain? You haven't been to try them yet?
No.
Man, you making a sport, girl. You may say bare time, as the young people would say to you today.
No, so true.
But you're absolutely right in identifying the 4. The 4 types of smoothies sold are mango, strawberry, banana, and ice cream. So when you plan to go and try it?
Sometime soon.
What part of Christchurch are you?
Calendars.
Oh, but you just down the hill, you go down to... No, Crispy is in town.
No,
So you have to go
right.
down to town to Crispy. Crumbs is in Oistins. But certainly I want to congratulate you. Stay on the phone. We'll take some other information from you. Congratulations. She's absolutely right. It's mango, strawberry, banana, and ice cream. Those are the 4 flavors of smoothies you'll find at Crispy Fried Chicken. Which one do I want? All of them. We're coming back after this break with more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
13 minutes after 7 o'clock, one thing we can all agree on is that it is not business as usual. So therefore, it isn't branding as usual. That's the word of the man who has written this book, Tighten Your Shoelaces. His name is Ron Johnson. He says we look at how the world's leading companies defend and grow their brands during a crisis. And you can too. Ron is actually the managing director and co-founder of the Blueprint Creative, which is the world's first branding with an H, branding, communications, and design agency. Ron, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Pearson. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Now, it's branding with an H, as I said. What's that H in the word branding?
Okay, so to give you an explanation, I think I have to take a step back. So your brand is pretty much what people think and feel about your organization, its products and its services. And the way that modern companies are operating nowadays, they understand that brands are built from the inside, not the outside. And that has led many companies all over the world to actually include their HR teams in terms of their marketing as well. So what we're seeing is an amalgamation between conventional branding, B-R-A-N-D-I-N-G, and HR, combined together, bring you B-H-R-A-N-D-I-N-G. It's just a clever way of us communicating to our clients and to the world that companies really do need to involve their HR teams in their branding initiatives.
You're putting people at the center of the effort of every company indeed. And so we're faced with crises, and when we're faced with crises, you are, from this blueprint, are sharing with us ways in which we can begin to assess ourselves, because the race, they say, is not for the swift, but those who endure to the end.
Exactly, exactly. I think that with the onset of COVID, a lot more businesses are very sensitized now to different crises that can occur. Of course, the pandemic is the major crisis that people are trying to survive, but the book covers a range of difficult scenarios which companies all over the world have experienced. And we thought that at the Blueprint team that it would be a really good idea to document a number of crises and the way that companies all over the world have defended and grown their brand during those crises and document them for entrepreneurs, business owners, and business executives.
Now, there are 16 chapters in this book. It's not a big, heavy book, folks, but it's easy to read because you give real-life examples so we can actually begin to digest every bit of truth within the book. So it starts with adapt or die. And so you're saying to business owners today, get a copy of this book and you learn how you can actually begin to defend your brand. So adapt or die. Why that particular one you wanted to start with?
Okay, so the title of the book, Tighten Your Shoelaces, is based on a business fable which talks about these two campers that were hiking through the woods, and all of a sudden they encountered this huge, enormous bear just ready to devour them. The first guy, he bent down very quickly, he tightened his shoelaces, obviously getting ready to make a run for it. The second guy looked at him and said, well, what the heck are you doing? You can't possibly outrun the bear. And the first guy, after tightening his shoelaces, he takes off and he looks over his shoulder and he says, I don't have to outrun the bear, I just have to outrun you. So the lesson from this business fable is that sometimes you don't have to outrun the entire bear, in this case, the economy. You simply have to outrun your nearest competitors, and the bear will take care of your competitors while you live to fight another day. So we thought that the first chapter was very, very important to let people understand that when it comes to business, it's not necessarily the largest organizations, the most well-funded organizations. It's the organizations that adapt most quickly to their environments are able to move forward, while other companies pretty much are taken down by the bear.
Yeah. You know, crises meet all of us in different forms and shapes at different times. And oftentimes we're not, in the Caribbean, very adept to responding to crises and surviving those crises the way that other people do. So what is this book sharing with us about some of those crisis-specific principles that business owners can actually begin to use? So we are the ones who outrun the, not just outrun the bear, but the other guy gets caught by that bear.
Yeah, so the book is basically a compilation of several responses to different crises. And the book is trying to show entrepreneurs and business owners and business executives that there's no single strategy for overcoming challenging scenarios. What works for one company may not work for the other, but by looking through the case study format of this book, readers are going to be able to kind of reverse engineer what some of the world's leading companies have done to outrun the bear and apply it to their own situations. So for instance, one of the principles in the book is change the battlefield, where smaller companies that would usually not be able to compete against a larger organization brings the battlefield to a different arena where they're more competitive. So we've seen that recently with, take Rihanna's brand, Savage by Fenty. Victoria's Secret was one of the largest behemoths in the industry. But what Rihanna did is that she moved the battlefield to an area that she was more competitive in by focusing more on diversity and inclusion. And Savage by Fenty has surely catapulted in recent years and is pretty much one of the largest players in the industry right now. You have other strategies as well, but I think that's one of my favorite strategies from the book, changing the battlefield to a place where you are able to outcompete larger competitors.
But that's at chapter 9. But if I could flip back to chapter 3, start with the end in mind, because no doubt in that same one, Rihanna would have been clear on what she wanted to achieve. She saw the outcome before she set about to do it. And oftentimes in business, we drift day by day by day, trying to manage with the daily crisis, not recognizing what the end goal is, and so we don't hit the target. And so start with the end in mind, I think, is a very powerful chapter, chapter 3.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure. I think the more clear businesses are at the very, very beginning of their professional journeys in terms of what they're working towards, the more equipped they are going to be to adapt to the environment. There are some companies that want to be global, multinational behemoths in the industry. There are other entrepreneurs that want to remain small and nimble. One is not necessarily better than the other. It's pretty much what you want for your business or what you want for your brand. But if you're able to start with why am I actually doing this? Why am I starting a business? What's my purpose? What's my mission? What's my vision? You stand a much better chance of being more agile because you have that foundation of a brand. You know what you're aiming for. If you don't know what you're aiming for, you're probably going to get it in the sense of not really having anything substantial. You need to start with the end in mind.
Start with your end in mind. I'm jumping all over the book because there's so many good things in it, indeed, if you don't mind. Chapter 14 says, repositioning your organization. It's a question you ask. Align your HR and marketing teams. Now, a lot of people will say, what? That sounds a little weird. We don't do that. Why do you suggest that we consider that in terms of repositioning?
Well, actually, this is actually what's happening on a global stage right now. You have companies like Airbnb who are kind of integrating their branding and their HR teams. You have come across actually here in Barbados where one person is responsible for both marketing and HR. We've come across at least 2 or 3 companies here in Barbados. We've come across a couple in Jamaica. And if you look where the market is shifting, again, modern companies understand that brands are built from the inside and not from the outside. So if you're going to build a strong brand from the inside, it stands to reason that your HR team, the guys and gals who are responsible for things like company culture, employee engagement, these individuals need to be fully engaged in your overall branding strategy. So to answer to your point, modern companies are already doing this. This is happening all over the world. This is happening in Barbados. This is happening in the Caribbean. And I've been fortunate enough to be invited to speak at many different conferences, Barbados, Trinidad, Jamaica, Cayman Islands, Mexico, USA, and Malaysia. And even though these countries are, miles apart, there is a movement there where people are saying, yes, I understand that brands start on the inside. And a lot more people are pretty much getting ready to pull the trigger and actually say, okay, we're actually going to integrate our HR and marketing teams together. So this is happening. This is definitely happening, and it's gaining momentum.
If we're going to tighten our shoelaces, we have to shift our way of thinking for sure. And then you end the book with, watch your step. That sounds like caution.
Yeah, it does. What we found is that in our research, a lot of companies have made huge missteps in building their brands. We've seen a lot of CEOs and founders have to retract their words and come out and apologize. Some people have made huge blunders in building their brand. And the last chapter is basically a warning that as we build and defend our brand, sometimes we're going to have to stand up for what the brand stands for. And sometimes one word, one misplaced sentence, one misplaced paragraph can bring your brand completely down. So it really warns us, to be careful as we build our brand.
Tighten Your Shoelaces is the book we're talking about this morning, ladies and gentlemen. And though it's targeted mostly at decision makers, I think everyone, every employee, everyone who's in business should really get a good copy of this, because you will find techniques that will really guide you through to become one of the leading companies defending your brand and growing through a crisis as well. Ron Johnson is the man who has put this all together from his own expertise and his experience, and it is great to learn from you. How can people watching this morning get a copy of this book?
Sure. Well, the book is available on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback, audiobook soon to come. If you do want to find out more about the project, you can go to tightenyourshoelaces.com. You can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Ron Johnson, CO, RonJohnsonCO. And you can find out pretty much everything you need to know about the project. We will be supporting the book, coming up with some free crash courses in branding. So if you are an entrepreneur, if you are a business owner, if you are a business decision maker, and you want to become more familiar with the principles of branding, just follow me on Instagram, Ron Johnson, CO.
The team watching this morning said, you're always reading that book. I said, no, it's not the same book, but this one had me gripped this morning. I was just reading page to page to page. And we only got it just yesterday. But thank you so much, Ron, for enticing all of us about the value of tightening our shoelaces in crises in particular, so that we become stronger and better, and we are more nimble to be able to respond to those situations when they occur. The book is called Tighten Your Shoelaces by Ron Johnson. Get it today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Morning Barbados will continue right after this as we look at our pediatric care.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
26 minutes after 7 o'clock. It's Tuesday morning, and it's always time for us to consult with our favorite pediatrician, Dr. Gillian Birchwood. Dr. Birchwood, good morning to you.
Good morning, Faison. How are you doing today?
I am doing well today. How are you doing?
I am great.
Good. Now, there's so much news about COVID-19 and its impact on children. We see the news, we can't close our eyes to it because it's right there all the time. And we're seeing stories of children themselves dying from COVID-19. But there's a bit of hope because the Fisa vaccine is now on the island. So parents are questioning, should I allow my child 12 years and older to receive this COVID-19 vaccine? So let's talk about that, if you don't mind, a little bit today. And that's because there's so many variants about now that are also impacting our children. What can you tell us about these variants and how it's impacting our children?
Yes. So this is something that I've been getting lots and lots of questions from parents about because of the delivery of the Pfizer vaccine to Barbados that we've been very fortunate to source. So the Pfizer vaccine has been used in other countries in children between the ages of 12 and 16 to 17. And this is great because none of the other vaccines that we've had available are suitable for use in young children. So it's really come at a good time. And you were mentioning about the variants because we know that there was the original strain of the COVID virus, the COVID-19 virus, which was first described. But since then, it has undergone a number of mutations. And the one that we're most concerned about, the one that's on the radar, that we don't want to see running rampant in Barbados, is the Delta variant. And the Delta variant is tremendously much more contagious than the previous variants. And so they have seen lots and lots of cases in children in countries where the Delta variant is actually the predominant variant, like in the United States. And a lot of children have been hospitalized. They're not sure if the Delta variant is actually the problem, or if it is just that a lot more children are getting the virus than they did before.
You know, when COVID-19 started, we were told, oh, children are very resilient to this. You know, let them run around in the sun, and it mostly affects a more mature member of the audience and the population. But here it is, more and more now, we're seeing the stories of children themselves being infected with this COVID-19, whatever the variant might be. And so it must concern a lot of parents. What do you advise parents to do today to make sure that they protect their little sweets?
Right. So for the very young children, because yes, you know, I, like you, have seen lots of stories on the news about children being severely affected. About 1% of children have been hospitalized with the COVID-19 virus, about 1% of children. And so we certainly don't want to see that here. So there are some groups of children that are particularly susceptible to the virus. Children who are less than 1 year of age are particularly susceptible. And children with underlying conditions like heart disease, asthma, diabetes, sickle cell disease, Down syndrome, all of these lovely children are at greater risk for having the virus. So for the very young ones who are under the age of 12, you're going to be taking your standard precautions, making sure that children from age 2 and up are masked, good hand hygiene, physical distancing. But the truth is, it's very hard to maintain these things, particularly in young children. However, in children who are age 12 and up, with the onset of the Pfizer vaccine, we are seeing a ray of hope. And so the recommendation is that children who are 12 and up to the age of 17 should get this vaccine. And it's very important for parents when they're considering the decision to have this vaccine given to their children to look at the facts and not to be swayed by the hype and the tremendous amount of misinformation that there is out there about this vaccine. So they really need to get good information when they're making that decision about their children.
When you think of it, children are so much more social than the adults. They just love to interact with not just among their own peers, but with adults as well. And so every precaution needs to be taken to protect them, you know, whether it's through the same social distancing, hand washing and wearing of the masks, but also in being ready, parents, to have your child vaccinated against some of these terrible effects of COVID-19. And so you're quite right, Dr. Birchwood, in knowing more. Know more, research the facts, get to know it well, so as you make a decision, you make a very informed decision about how do you get your child back to some degree of normalcy and making sure that they're protected in this normal environment that we're all seeking to attain.
Yes, there are a number of reasons why I would recommend vaccination. I'm the mother of a child who's 15 years old, so I'm not just recommending this out of out of my back pocket and saying you do this for your child. It's something that I have researched because I have a child who's in the age group that I would certainly want to be vaccinated, and there's several reasons for that. One is that we already have quite an amount of safety data for children, and in the United States, for example, about nearly 10 million children have already received the Fisa vaccine. There's been very good safety data that has come out. There is some information about side effects, and there is the potential for a side effect of heart inflammation. But it's important to put it in context. It's an extremely small percentage of children who get that complication, compared to the much higher risk of complication that the children face from the COVID-19 virus itself. It's extremely, extremely small risk of developing the heart inflammation complication. And most children who've had that have recovered without any severe effects. So parents will see that on the internet, that is correct. But it's important to put it into perspective that it is literally 0.00007% of children who've had that complication, and the majority of them have recovered. So it's a very tiny number by comparison with the risk for the actual COVID-19 virus.
Some would say you're a medical doctor, that's easy for you to understand. But for little old me, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. So would your recommendation also be have a discussion with your medical doctor, with your pediatrician?
Absolutely. Any time that you are considering giving a vaccine or a medication, you need to be clear that you understand why it's important, what the possible side effects are, what the possible risks are. Don't just rush out there and do it and you're not comfortable about it. But do reach out and get the facts from a trusted source, not from some person on the internet who has an agenda and doesn't have the facts to back it up. So it's really important to get the truth as opposed to a lot of what is circulating out there.
I couldn't agree with you more. Get the truth, as you stressed it. Now, it's also the summer vacations that we're tempted to travel. We're tempted to move about. And would you recommend that at this time with all of these variants about?
I think that it is really important for parents to weigh the benefits and the risks of travel. So I think that non-essential travel is not a good idea at this point in time. The majority of our children are not protected from the COVID-19 virus. And when we travel overseas, we are at risk of being exposed to all these different variants that are out there, including the Delta variant. And so we don't want to travel, pick that up, and then bring it back home. I think it's really a bad idea to travel right now for non-essential travel with children. So stay put. Barbados is a beautiful island. Be a tourist in your own country, and I think you have a great summer nonetheless.
But oftentimes we'd say, but my child is strong, my child is healthy, my child has no complaint, there are no known health issues that my child has. Why can't I take my child on the plane to go somewhere?
Well, going through an airport, it's a high traffic area. There are lots of people who are going to be passing through there. Great risk of picking up a virus. Children are not known to keep their hands to themselves. They're always touching and putting their hands on their face. So they are definitely at greater risk of picking things up. When you get into a plane, it's a small, confined environment. So there's a greater risk of transmission from the person in front of you and the person behind you. And so travel brings with it inherent risks that it's impossible for you as a parent to mitigate entirely on your own because there's so many other people in that space. So non-essential travel, it's a bad idea.
Bad idea. Well, Dr. Birchall, we have to leave it there, but the underlying thing here is that there's the Fisa vaccines on the island now. And parents, you need to make informed decisions about whether or not to allow your child 12 years and up to be vaccinated. But in doing so, seek credible sources for your information to make your informed decision. Your pediatrician is a great credible source that you should consult with so that you can have a more informed opinion on how to proceed as well. Dr. Birchwood, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Likewise. Morning Barbados continues after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
23 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock. As we told you when we were teasing the show, we're looking today at moving into a rental property and we're seeking a rental property. Our agent Sharita is on the job with us this morning. Good morning to Agent Sharita.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you again, my friend. So we're in the market for a rental. What are some of the things that we need to get squarely straight about before we actually begin to rent someone's property?
Well, first off, most of us tend to see things, fall in love with things with our eyes. But we need to look into our pockets first. We need to confirm financially what can we really handle. And I always recommend that in terms of your rental rate, it should be your annual salary should be about 30 times your rental rate. So if you make about $30,000 a year, don't be looking for anything over $1,000. Don't do it. Because you have to think about other financial responsibilities. Remember, at the beginning, you have to put down the equivalent of 1 month's rent as a security deposit and also the first month's rent. And there are going to be some responsibilities that you have thereafter financially, including, transferring any utilities into your name, buying any furniture if you choose an unfurnished option, and just getting that place ready for you. So financially sit down and work out what can you handle first and foremost.
Right, there is some financial outlay up front, before you actually move into your rental. As you just said, your deposit and all of the transfer costs for other utilities as well. So that you need to get very, very straight. But I'm searching now. So in searching, I'm not just looking at the dollar value alone. I'm also looking at whether it meets the particular need, whether I'm a large family, small family, single, what it is. So help me on that one.
Yes. So remember, this is your home. So you want to make sure that it meets your creature comforts. Start off with the basics. How long is it going to take to commute back and forth to work? Or even if I want to take little Johnny by Grand, how long is that going to take? Make sure you're in a location that is able to meet all of your needs comfortably. If you know that you have 1 or 2 vehicles between you and your spouse or family, is this location going to have enough parking? Do we need a house instead of an apartment? Do we have that kind of family that we want space? So all those parameters, think out first before you just go hunting. And simple things like, do you want unfurnished, as we've spoken about already? You have your own furniture. Do you want semi-furnished, where you have furniture, but you don't have appliances and you're not spending that money right now? Or do you want fully furnished? Do you want to pick up your bag and just move into a turnkey property and be reminded that fully furnished, of course, is going to incur the highest rent comparably to unfurnished and semi-furnished properties of the same size?
And you got to be, I suppose, be cautious about panic renting too. The relationship just broke up. You know what? I'm out of here, and so I'm moving into that. And you make some strange decisions, and you have regret. So when should I really start searching to move into a rental property? Is there a timeline, a time frame?
Yes, so it's comfortable for you. I always recommend about 6 to 8 weeks prior to your preferred start date. Why that timeline? Because it lets you know kind of which properties are on the market that you can play with. If you start too early, if you talk about, I get ready, I searching from 3 months out, well, guess what? You're not ready to put down money from 3 months out, and that house is going to disappear and your feelings are going to be hurt. So 6 to 8 weeks is an appropriate timeline. It also allows you to, put down the money. Sometimes you can make an arrangement with the landlord. Please give me the 6 weeks to stagger this deposit because I wasn't, planning for it financially. So I just want to make sure I get all my points together. Also, it gives you a chance to feel settled. So you're not racing and rushing into that property. And of the utmost importance, it gives the landlord confidence in you, because the biggest red flag is someone who, I ready, I got life cash, I can move in tomorrow, I can move in tomorrow. Red flag. So you want to go with a comfortable period of time that makes both you and the landlord feel at peace.
For any first-time renter, though, what's involved in the application process? What can you share with us?
Okay, so for example, the service that I provide, I like to sleep good at night as an agent. So you have to do everything as a tenant but give me blood and a stool sample, because I am digging into your history. So I will ask you for things like, give me 2 professional references that I can contact and speak to them directly and get to know if you're a sweet potato thief or a serial killer. I will also ask for your previous landlord's reference. And sometimes what I do, I let the current landlord, the apartment or house that you're planning to take up, speak directly to the past landlord, so he or she can hear it straight from their mouth, any concerns or issues that they had with Billy Bob. Did he pay the rent on time? Was he always into loud music? Did he, it's good to hear these issues up front. Also, in terms of the application, you will need to show some sort of security. Security in the sense of, do you have a job?
Yes, yes.
If you have a job, let us have a job letter so that we can see that you've been there for the last 4 years and that you make $2,000 a month or whatever. There needs to be some proof of your income. Gone are the days when you just show up and tell a landlord, I got money, and the landlord takes you in. So as a tenant, you need to come knowing that you're exposing yourself a little bit sometimes in declaring what you make, and you ask that it be confidential. Even things like if you are self-employed. Self-employed people have been finding it challenging recently because they can't pull out a job letter per se. But in that instance, sometimes we ask for, give us a bank letter showing that you have 6 months rent on the account, or even an accountant's reference saying that, based on assets, liabilities, profit and loss, etc., he or she can comfortably handle this rent for the next 6 months.
That is so interesting. You're absolutely right on that score. And I didn't think all of that went into the process, but it's good to know beforehand and not regret.
If you want to protect yourself, Pearson,
you're quite right.
You
You're quite right.
as a landlord need to take these steps, and as a tenant, you can't be afraid of the intrusion.
What should be allowed when, and really when I'm about to move in? What are some of the things as a tenant I need to be mindful of so I'm allowed to move in?
Sure. Well, we've worked out that you make sure you have your deposits in order. But then in terms like transferring the utilities, we know that in terms of the internet and phone service, for example, try to give yourself a 3-week period, a head start in terms of getting your application in and so forth. So when you transition to that property, we know internet is important to us.
Yes.
You want to make sure it is up and functional. Yes. In terms of the electricity, I think there's normally a $23 charge if you are a local. There may be a $500 deposit if you're not from here. Make sure you get the electricity switched over in a timely fashion. And that just involves a landlord filling out a light and power form that you take to the electricity company with your dollars and get it switched over. Water should always remain in the landlord's name. That's how the landlord protects their interest, but the bills might come to the house for your attention, or the water may be included in the rent based on what arrangement has been made. So you make sure that you get those things in order on moving in.
And should that be documented? All of that you just described.
Yes. So a thorough lease should pretty much have in that utilities are at the lessee's or the tenant's account. Water is included in the rent. Those things should be in the actual documentation. And also the things that you want to ensure as a tenant that are in your lease are even simple things like in reference to landlord visits to the property. You don't want your landlord turn up inside. I come and see what's going on. I ain't seeing what I just said. No. You want him to give you 24 to 48 hours notice, right? So you put that in the lease, or you ensure at least that it is there, so that if he comes by to inspect the property, which he or she is allowed to do, at least that has been agreed on. You need to make sure the boundaries are clear between you two.
I like one of the points of going through an inventory list, whether it's furnished or unfurnished, so that you are not held liable as a tenant for things that you did not, problems that you did not create, and vice versa for the landlord, that you are able to say, I am going to hold you responsible for the damage I see here too.
Yes. Now this pertains particularly to semi-furnished. Remember, semi-furnished properties have kitchen appliances and laundry appliances, and furnished properties. Furnished properties may sometimes even have everything down to linen, cutlery, and crockery, but all furniture, washing machine, and so forth. It is best as a tenant, because you want to protect your interest too, that if the landlord is going through an inventory with you, they would have a list of the items, and they might have next to it a column where you tick good, fair, scratches, or you write down any comments. I recommend as a tenant, take some pictures. If you know that that vase has a big able nick in it at the start of tenancy, take a picture and keep it on your little computer, so that at the end when Police Sue, the landlord, is accusing you of damaging her vase, you can say, Exhibit A, photo from 2019, shows that there was a nick here of 2 inches.
So true.
So that's how you ensure that you are not being held accountable at the end of tenancy and being told you ain't getting back your full security deposit because of these damages.
There's so many things that one should take into consideration when taking up tenancy. And so I want to thank you this morning, Agent Sharita, for walking us through all of it. But if you need further guidance, folks, just call Agent Sharita on 233-8888, a very simple number to remember, 233-8888. And she's available too at Barbados Real Estate 246 on all of our social media platforms. And let's begin the journey together and be guided by one of the very best, Agent Sharita. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Morning Barbados will continue right after this as Thornwood is going to join us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
To Pandemic Fitness, I am joined by 2 fitness experts, not me. Thornwood, good morning to you, Thorn, my friend.
Good morning, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. And you brought Chanel with you this morning. Chanel, good to see you in person. Morning, not to do it, but for you to do it. I'm just telling you straight. So, Thor, where are we going today?
So we'll be on the back of the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Going into, pretty
Mm-hmm.
Sports therapy 101.
Yes.
There on the map.
Yes.
To talk about just a little bit of what they do. Some of these athletes spend thousands of dollars per month. Some of these athletes spend millions of dollars every year just recovery because you need to be operating optimum. So we can scale it down because we know everybody.
Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do, we're going to try to get that started in just a moment. You know, what we're working on is making sure that Thorn can be heard and everybody can be heard very clearly. Just want to let you know that this is our pandemic fitness segment. Of course, if you have any questions at all for Mr. Califit 246, he's available. Califit 246, he's available at Gmail, and he's also available by telephone and a whole host of other ways as well. So I think we're good to go now.
Yeah.
Testing, 1, 2.
Testing. We're here. Good. So what we said is that we're on the back of Olympics and going into Diamond League. So we're just scaling down how these athletes spend millions of dollars because, with COVID, everybody budget isn't really up in the millions right now. So we can scale it down a little bit and go through a couple of stretches and how to use the foam roller.
Okay.
Right? And some key points. So
And they put them by me.
I can start the key points that we can talk about.
Sure. Okay, before we get using the foam rollers, we're going to just address something called DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. A lot of these athletes, non-athletes too, when you get in the gym, you come from the gym, you feel the muscle soreness. Usually kicks in about 48 to 72 hours between that window.
Yes,
right, and you feel sore, you can't do that sort of stuff. So Thorn is going to show us some stretches, and then I'm going to show you how to use the foam roller.
Exactly.
Me or Thorn?
So
you.
The foam roller is something that's genuinely affordable. It's an affordable way to get you stretching out. Usually for me, I like to stretch and then I like to use the foam roller and then stretch. Right? I feel like it kind of loosens up my muscles then more so I can get deeper into the stretches. So we've been through a couple of these before. One of my favorites to let people do is our roll downs. So think about your spine as a chain on link by link. You start with your chin to your chest, roll all the way down, let your body hang, hands are out, and you can just stay here for about 15 to 45 seconds, just letting your body down. And from there, you fold your arms, head is down. You're gonna rotate and rock from side to side, just releasing the lower back a little bit. About 4 each side. I do not see a person doing this at all.
To learn,
right? And then roll up. So person, you go to the next time.
Yeah, but if I did that, my vertigo.
Your vertigo will kick in. Okay. All right. So that means you can do the next one, which is like seated on the floor. So we would just loosen up our back a little bit. We bring a nice pink fancy mat for Pearson. Pearson playing wants it up on it.
Y'all are looking really good.
Right?
Y'all are doing so well.
So what I like for most of my clients to do is to think about lifting your chest up and folding from your navel towards your quadricep muscles, right? Instead of like reaching like this and like engaging your shoulders and stuff like that. That's not what you want. You want to stretch to start from up here. Lifting, it doesn't matter how far you get. That's not really what you're aiming for. And stretches do not have to hurt in order to work, guys.
Okay.
That's my motto. They don't have to hurt in order to work.
When you said lift, Justin, my first thing was to inhale.
To inhale. Yeah, you can inhale, definitely. Inhale, deep inhale. Hands are up, reaching, and exhale. Reaching as far as you can go. I'm not that warm, but you're reaching. Go as far as you can go. I usually tell people don't hold their hands or hold your toes. The objective is to reach past your toes. And then when you're finished with the stretch, you're reaching out and up. And release.
Shauna went all the way past her toes.
Yeah, Shauna got me beat on the mobility.
Just a little bit.
So in that stretch, we're stretching
hamstrings, lower back, especially lifting and maintaining good posture. Because usually we've talked about this before with people with sedentary lifestyle. Most people have a tendency to be slouched like this.
Yeah.
Right?
Guilty charged.
So and being slouched like that, you're going to start to reach here, which is what we're going to want to avoid. You want to have decent alignment.
Surface, because oftentimes there are people who say, "I'll stay on the bed and do this."
Correct.
Is it a good surface on which to do it?
So it depends. So context, right? It depends on if you already have bad posture. Typically, you don't want to be sitting down on something as flat or as soft as a bed that's going to be already sink you down into the floor because you may not be aware.
Right.
Unless you have like a mirror and you're aware of how to align yourself and sit up tall and make adjustments. I suggest you just sit on the floor on a nice mat and go through these basic stretches.
So we inhaled before we started. So
inhale,
we had a tall body, and then when
inhale,
we exhale,
and then when you exhale, release and lean forward and go as far as you possibly can.
All right.
If you can't touch your toes, touch your shins. If you can't touch your shins, touch your knees. If you can't touch your knees, touch your thighs. If you can't touch your thighs, go and see a doctor.
Then you're doing nothing.
So,
but the whole thing is over time, then you become a lot more agile.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And especially for those who lift, you should definitely stretch. There's kind of like a misconception where people think that because you're lengthening muscle and stuff like that, it becomes weaker. It's not really about that. Stretching can actually help to increase your range of motion, which will help to increase to improve your lifting.
Is he telling the truth, Chanel?
Yeah, it is, very much is.
All right, so we can move on to the foam roller.
So the foam roller, people tend to try to use it as a replacement for stretching. We should use it to complement the stretching. So we're going to foam roll our hamstrings again today. So
you should have met person. Bring down some work.
All right. So we place the foam roller by just above the knee, and we can bend this leg up onto your hands, and we just roll the length of
the hamstring,
right behind
between
there.
the hip and the knee.
Right. So from the butt, the hip, right down to the top of the knee. Sometimes
like a nice massage.
It is. It provides a nice massage. It helps to massage out. It helps to flush the lactic acid and stuff like that. Sometimes we get people who would find this is easier. People who can have the upper body strength to keep the body up. So they put one leg on top of the other, and they just sit there.
Showing off.
Yeah.
Showing off for me. Showing off for me. Anybody got to do a handstand or a backflip before we left?
And we just sit here and nice and roll and glide.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
We do this for about 30 seconds to a minute. You repeat about 2 to 3 times.
Is that a daily thing, or is that something I only do should I feel stiffness in the thigh?
That's a good question.
That's a good, and as Thorne said earlier, context. If for a high-level athlete that is training twice a day, they'll probably do this every day. For somebody that's just in the gym 2 to 3 times a week, they might do it once a week.
Right.
So it depends on
your output.
Your output.
And that once a week, if I'm in the gym 2 or 3 times a week, is when I feel the stiffness, or is it because I was in the gym I should do this?
Well, generally, I like to I believe in the concept of sorry, I was turning around. I was catching my bearing. I made the break dance started to take over, so I almost did a flip just now. Right. Generally, I like to tell people to stretch post workout, regardless of what it is that you're doing. You know, your body's under load. Whether you're doing high intensity exercise, you need to, if you're going to take the body up here, you need to bring it back down here to normal level. Right? Stretching is a huge part of that. My output tends to be relatively high. Doing various things, lots of functional training, flipping, getting low, doing heavy lifting. So I probably foam roll now maybe 3-4 times a week.
Well,
right?
You have to, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I do tend to have a stiffness like in my lower back and my hamstring. So that's something that I generally have to work on. So like again, it is context dependent. I'm sure that whoever you train with, or whoever professional you have will give you the necessary advice as to how many times a week you should.
You know me, I keep on the clock.
Yeah, I know you on the clock. I know you on the clock.
Again, for Caliphate 246, Caliphate 246 is what you can send your email to, or you're still doing the personal training sessions?
Oh, most definitely. We're still most definitely doing personal training. We have something new that's coming up shortly for you guys. I can't reveal it yet, or my marketing team might kill me. So we can talk about it. You can also check out Sports Therapy 101 on Instagram. We're going to have something coming up for you guys called Caliphate 101, so look out for that.
Look out for that.
And yeah, keep rolling out, keep stretching, guys.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks again, Chanel. And thank you again,
Thanks for having me.
Of course, you know, folks, that's it for today. We want to thank you so much for keeping us company. We do look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. For the crew, to all of you, have a great today. Catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.